Our ability to maintain our focus in one information patch, whether it be a work project, a homework assignment, or something as simple as watching a television program, has been seriously jeopardized, and we believe that modern information technology is a major culprit. We have become such massive consumers of high tech, spending the vast majority of our waking hours using one or more devices, and we have not really had much practice sustaining our attention on just one activity and ignoring the lure of others. Adam Gazzaley and Larry Rosen, The Distracted Mind. The pursuit of anime is an aim to explore philosophical topics through the medium of anime, to create discussion and to enlighten ourselves. We are by no means professionals, and the content of this podcast is pure discussion, meant to stimulate and exercise our minds and hopefully yours too. So you're joined here today by myself, Raven, and Teddy. We're your hosts for today.
Hello.
Yeah, and we have a pretty different topic for the channel today. We're talking about parasocial relationships and discussing whether or not they're a societal sickness. And just to get right into it, parasocial relationships, they're, if you're unaware of them, they're this concept of one-sided relationships, um, where one person is the one extending all the emotional energy, all the interest, all the time, all the effort, and the other party, you can like kind of call them the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. And there's been a lot of research, a lot of discussion. There's tons of YouTube videos coming out about this topic recently, discussing parasocial relationships, whether they're good or bad. There's been tons of incidents that we can get into. But I want to start off with this 2006 research by David Giles and John Maltby, where they classified parasocial relationships into three subcategories. So they classify it into number one, entertainment social, number two, intense personal, and number three, borderline pathological. Now the primary, yeah,
Something about borderline pathological sounds so unbelievably insulting. I love it.
yeah, and I mean, as we get into more of the stories, I think you're going to start to see why they kind of classify them into these categories. Now, the primary element separating these different types is the amount of affection and the amounts of control you have over this affection towards this character, this persona, this idol, you know?
Mhm.
And new research from ThriveWorks shows that 51% of Americans have actually likely been in parasocial relationships, even though only 16% admit to it. So there's a big majority that seems to be engaging in this style of relationship. I just want to kind of open with this, Teddy. Like, have you experienced parasocial relationships? What's your kind of experience with it? Have you ever felt that you feel tied to in some way, whether it be borderline pathological, whether it be just kind of like an entertainment
Man,
social kind of
borderline
thing?
pathological. I cannot recover from that. That is just hilarious. I love it. I love it. No, but listen, man, even before I answer that question, the people you said, was it like 16% of people have openly admitted to having been in a parasocial dynamic? Is
Yeah,
Yeah. So for a lot of those people, the ones who are the the ones putting in all the effort, the energy, and all that stuff, most of the time they're not even aware that they're in that kind of dynamic. So they probably wouldn't even be able to tell you objectively, like, yeah, I've done that before. I've been that person. It takes a lot of introspective work to realize that and sit down with yourself and think about not being that person, or being that person and trying to be better. So, to answer your question, man, listen, I'm ashamed to have to admit to this. I really am, but I've been that guy before. I've been in a and to be
nice.
fair, it was the first. Not nice, bro. Not nice. Uh, it's terrible because I've been thinking about it recently, and hindsight is 2020. So I was looking back, and I thought to myself, oh Lord, have mercy on my soul. I used to be that guy. I was the one just like overly showering the other person with unnecessary amounts of attention and love, and I thought that I was doing the right thing, but I didn't realize that what it was is probably more like some what we're talking about right now. It's a parasocial relationship because I was going in, I was doing the most. And this should have been the first kind of alert in my mind that I needed to reel it back a little bit. I need to slow down is when my girlfriend at the time told me, she's like, yo, Teddy, um, I don't know, man. This is very intense. I don't know what to do with this. And I thought to myself, really? I feel like this is just normal. I feel like, I really like you, and and that's another thing too. When you're in a parasocial relationship, you're delusional. You're disconnected from reality to a certain extent, and you don't even know it.
Yeah,
And or you know it, but you shove that knowledge deep down within the recess of your mind because you don't want to acknowledge it. But for the most part, you're thinking, that other person is on the same wavelength as me. No, no, you're moving at light speed while they're walking like a snail. So it's you're not even in the same realm, but you think you are, and you're operating from that place. So it gets to a point where the relationship becomes really lopsided. And I've been there. I've been there before, and I've done it. I'm not proud of myself for
yeah,
doing that, but that's what happens with personal growth. You live and you learn.
yeah, for sure. I feel like me for the most part of my life, it's been pretty like more entertainment social level, like where it's just like for me, it's just an entertainment thing. Even now, I experience like kind of a parasocial relationship thing. Like, I guess of course like one of the easiest examples for us like that's still ongoing is like the whole thing with Oda and One Piece, right? We
Yeah.
admire Oda, we love his work, but it's just a completely like entertainment social type of thing where it's just like, man, I love this story. This dude is awesome. That's about it, you know. But we've seen on Twitter, there's the people that they just go crazy for Oda. You know what I'm saying? He can do
Oh
no
yeah.
wrong, and
They would give him top if they had the opportunity to do so.
it's almost as if they become like physically ill when like something happens to him, like when he takes a break, like for a week, they just like become foaming at the mouth for that One Piece content. And
Hey,
actually,
hey, hey, it's
yeah,
borderline pathological, but yeah, go on.
yeah. So according to like another survey by ThriveWorks, who they've conducted a lot of surveys on this matter, 20% of Americans have experienced genuine bereavement over the death of a celebrity. Even more people, 26%, have been upset when a fictional character on TV or film has died, right? And that's pretty normal. That happens all the time, right?
Mm.
I was pretty mad when Mufasa died when I was a kid.
I was gutted when Oberyn died the way that he did in Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Like there's tons of examples of that, and it's totally healthy. But we're not just talking about expressing sadness on Twitter. Let's go into this. Almost 10% of Americans have actually reported negative mental health effects from celebrity deaths. And even further, 7% of respondents have mentally suffered when a celebrity didn't respond to them on social media. So this is kind of for me where it starts to get a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like where it starts to get borderline pathological, which I think Teddy, you're going very fond of that term.
I
Uh,
am. I am.
because it is kind of just too much, and I think it's kind of teetering on the line of obsession.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, and I think that's like a theme for this overall subject where I think the what separates it from being healthy and
It's
unhealthy,
an unhealthy obsession.
yeah, is whether you're like unhealthily obsessed with it or not. Now, of course, there's like there's like a kind of like almost innate primal thing in us, right? Where like have you ever asked yourself this, Teddy? Have you ever felt like if you met a certain celebrity, you'd be good friends with them?
No, never.
No,
Because
you
no,
never
yeah,
felt that
and
way.
I'll tell you why, real quick, is because I don't look at the problem with celebrities is you don't get to see too much of their actual personalities. So you're
Yeah.
not really able to tell if you'd be friends with them or not. It's different when you see somebody and you're able to tell genuinely the kind of person they are. And based on that, you can say, okay, yeah, I would be great friends with this person. I'll get along great with them because we think alike or we have similar mannerisms or, the we share similar philosophies on life. Most celebrities, you don't get to see how they think about certain things. Sometimes you get a glimpse of it through Instagram or Twitter, but most of the time, they can't be all the way real because these, social platforms, it, you can only get so personal, right? Because your personality, your celebrity at that point. So no, I've never thought that.
Yeah.
I've wanted to meet some of them very bad, but no, I never thought I could be friends with them.
Yeah. And that's where the disconnect is, because I feel like I felt the same, where I see a lot of these like artists, all of these like filmmakers and stuff, and I can admire them, right?
Hmm.
And admire their work. I love their work. But I look at them and I'm like, I know you're just a human. I know you're not perfect, and you know, probably a lot of you, if I would meet you, I
Oh,
would not get along with you.
I'm so glad you said that because see, this is one thing that I do. I feel like you do too, but a lot of people aren't able to do the same, which is separating the celebrity or personality from the person.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound really I don't want to say controversial because I feel like a lot of people kind of agree with this, but think back to the GOAT, the greatest of all time, like actually the greatest of all time, Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah.
You know about him um, playing around with little kids and all that, right?
Yeah.
And people are divided on this to this day. Some people think he did it, some people think he didn't. I know people who have told me they can't listen to his music anymore because they think of him doing those things with children. Where I'm thinking to myself, but what does his music, what do his performances have to do with his personal life? In
Yeah.
my mind, those are two completely separate things. They exist on completely separate planes. But for others, they're not able to disassociate the two. And they think if you're that type of person, then I can't like your music. And for me, the way I see it is extremely disingenuous because I know those people still love that music, but they're trying to be morally righteous and decide, you know what, I'm not going to listen to your music. I know behind closed doors, you're going Billie Jean. Okay. Don't play with me. But you know,
Yeah.
in the public, this what they would say. So I don't know. I feel like there have been a lot of instances like that, like Kobe, like there's a lot where they do that and they're not able to separate the two. And I am. So it never bothers me. I'll listen to a song, I watch a movie for somebody who had to face some allegations and been accused of committing atrocious acts. I don't care because I don't have that connection with them. It's different if it's somebody that's in my close circle that I care about who does those things. Then at that point, we're gonna need to sit down and have a conversation. And if no changes happen or no repenting from your actions, then we don't have to part ways. But I don't think it's like that with celebrities for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. We might do a video on that sooner or later too, because that's a wide topic in and of itself. But with the parasocial relationship thing, like I think what goes into it is that us as humans, we're social creatures at the end of the day, right? So we're kind of like predisposed to like looking for ways to like network and connect with others. And I get it. It's part of like our nature, right? We want to build those connections with others. So naturally, as life and as kind of our everyday activities shift to social media, we kind of take that with us. We take that kind of instinct onto social media, and so when we see people we like on social media, namely celebrities and famous TikTok influencers and all that, we can attach our desire for not attention, but maybe for like a relationship or a connection or social connection. We bring that with us, and we begin to attach that onto like our favorite personalities and personas that we see, and that can be the start of a parasocial relationship for most people. But the thing is, what happens when we take parasocial relationships to the extreme? So Anna Matsuoka was a 21-year-old member of a J-pop group called Tenshi Tsukinukeni Yomi. On September 1, she was returning to her Tokyo home when a man, and by the way, this might be triggering for anybody with any like kind of anxiety or trauma involving around like SA sexual assaults. So so of course proceed with caution. But basically, this pop star, she was returning to her home when a man comes up from behind and he covers her mouth with a piece of cloth, and he drags her away from her door into like a secluded area, and then proceeds to grope her. But she was able to escape, thankfully, and she was shown with like facial bruising, right? And so they catch this guy that did this, and his name is Hibiki Sato. And they do a bit of investigating and they do a bit of interrogation, the police do. And Hibiki Sato tells them that what he did was he saw a picture of Miss Matsuoka, and it was a picture on Instagram, and he zoomed in onto the portion that was her eyes, the pixels on her eyes, and he was able to see like reflections in her eyes, and he used Google Street View to find the train station that she was at and pinpoint her general location. And he ended up kind of scoping out the area and waiting for the moment that he would see her coming out of that station. And he said he'd studied videos where the woman like shot in her apartment, looking at details such as like the placement of curtains and the direction of natural light coming through the window to kind of like estimate the latitude and longitude that she was at, and estimate the floor that she lived on. and and that allowed him to execute this horrible crime. And of course, thankfully, the police were able to catch him. Another example, in 2016, Japanese singer Mayu Tomita was left in critical condition after she was repeatedly stabbed by a fan as she was waiting to perform a concert in Tokyo. It was reported this year that she was actually suing the government for not doing enough to protect her. Another Japanese pop star, Maho Yamaguchi, went public earlier this year with allegations that she had been assaulted by two obsessive fans on the way home. So this seems to be something that keeps happening in kind of this pop culture, where any culture that involves celebrities and idols, and you just see it happening more and more often. Of course, in America, we have our stories of it. There's countless stories. I remember there was this pop star growing up that I heard about. I forget her name. I think she was more like a YouTube uploader. She did like a meet and greet. Someone ended up coming in and shooting her. So Teddy, like, this seems to be something that's getting pushed too far. This whole parasocial relationship thing. Do you think that that's true?
Um, See, I don't even know that you can say it's being pushed too far. I think the nature of it itself is too far, right?
Yeah,
Because we becoming this desensitized society where certain things that shouldn't happen as often as they do, they happen with high frequency. And that brings on the conversation of, oh, is it getting out of hand? No, the very first time it happened was already out of hand. It didn't need to
interesting.
be so many times before. It's the same thing with other problems that our modern society faces, like school shootings or public places shootings.
Yeah,
It's not a pressing matter because it keeps happening as often as it was already a problem to begin with.
yeah,
it's more so annoying now that it happens as much as it does. I look at, you know, these people being obsessed by celebrities, which, by the way, the first one who zoomed in on the pixel of a picture to see the reflection in the eye of that celebrity, that is an insane amount of dedication and planning.
Yeah.
It's evil, it's vile, it's depraved, it's shameful, it should be reproached and reprimanded, but at the same time I admire the dedication.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I have to put it out there. Like, I
yeah,
don't condone, right, that kind of behavior, but man, if he could find a way to channel that energy into more productive areas of his life, he probably go get really far. But anyway,
yeah. And that's the thing, like, I think you bring up a good point, like, where I feel like, do you think that, like, even just the premise of a parasocial relationship is something that's unnatural, or I mean, yeah, you could say unnatural or unhealthy for humans? Because think about it this way, Teddy. This is a thought that came to my mind while I was like thinking about this and researching this subject, right? You look at us, right? And we're living in these like technologically kind of advanced societies. I remember someone was telling me, I don't know if the statistic is right, but they were telling me only about 1 billion people in the world have access to the internet. So you know, one seventh of the world or 1/8 of the world. I don't know how big the population is now. It was 7 billion when I was growing up. Um, so a big majority of the world doesn't have access to the internet, right? Um, so it seems to be like a first world problem where if you go to like a tribe in South America, like people that are completely isolated from the outside world, do they have these problems? Do they have this parasocial relationship problem? Of course, they have their own problems, right? We're not arguing that they don't have problems. We're just saying, do they have these parasocial relationship problems? So, is this parasocial relationship issue in humanity something that is derived from kind of the exposure due to the internet to like these hyper, like you said, we're getting too much stimulus, too much, we're exposed too much to these social interactions that we normally wouldn't in everyday life if it weren't for the internet. And is
yeah.
that an unhealthy thing?
So, um, so you asked two things actually. You asked if it was unnatural or unhealthy. So unnatural, no. Unhealthy, yes. So here's the breakdown. These celebrities, these popular, people, they're they've achieved their fame because something about them stood out. It stood out very brightly, and they were able to capitalize on it, right? And usually when that happens, it brings out fascination in people. And that's very natural. That's very normal. If you see somebody doing something very amazing or they're doing something extremely well, it's praiseworthy. It's fascinating. The problem is when that fascination goes too far, where it gets to be borderline pathological. But I love that term so much. But
Same.
that's what I mean when I say it's natural, because it comes from a normal place of fascination with somebody doing something at an amazing level. If you think of some of the greatest athletes in the history of mankind, they did those amazing things that were worthy of fascination and praise and respect, and you look at it, even on a lower scale. You look at, well, quote unquote lower scale, you look at YouTubers. A lot of the time, some of them are really amazing at what they do, whether it be reaction channels, commentary channels, philosophical topic channels. Like, in one way or another, they stand out, so people get really impressed and fascinated by them. But it's it gets to a point where if you're too engrossed into who that person is, then the lines blur between I'm fascinated by that person, and I almost want to be that person. I want to be in their skin. right? That's where we get to that level of obsession, right? Unhealthy obsession.
Yeah.
Give you an example. K-pop fans. The K-pop fandom scares me. What they do, the way they're dedicated to whoever their favorite Korean star idol is. You've seen it. I'm pretty sure you've seen it because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
more
yeah.
familiar with that stuff than I am. Like they go insane. I know some people who believe they're dating some of those Korean stars. In their minds, they're dating. And you see the kind of posts they make on social media, whether it be on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. They're tweeting like they know that celebrity on a personal level. To me, that's sick. At
Yeah.
that point, you need to seek help, right? And that's where it gets to a point because when you compare to, like you said, the people areas in the world where they don't have the internet, I feel like they probably still have that same issue because in any community, you're gonna have some people that stand out naturally because they're just amazing at one thing or another. But it won't get to that point, to the point that it gets to with like modern society, because you can think of social media as a magnifying lens where it'll take something really small, like you know, like a normal, quote unquote, normal kind of parasocial dynamic, and inflate it to ridiculous proportions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing, like with this whole parasocial relationship thing, I'm glad you brought up K-pop because that it has a long history of this parasocial relationship interaction. It's actually built upon parasocial relationships. K-pop is no, definitely. I do have to preface this is not like exclusively K-pop. I grew up with people being obsessed with who were all the boy bands that people were obsessed with Justin Bieber. People were obsessed with like
Oh,
Ariana Grande
Backstreet
growing up,
Boys,
Backstreet
yeah,
Boys, yeah, all these One Direction,
One
uh,
One Direction, that was
Spice
a big
Girls.
one.
People were obsessed with all these people, right? And of course, America has had their incidents. But the difference with K-pop and America is
Oh, NSYNC with
K-pop.
Justin Timberlake,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The list goes on. But anyways, the point is that like problem with K-pop is that they propagate it, so they amplify it. So the industry, the way it's set up is, an album will come out from your favorite artist, right, Teddy, in K-pop. So an album will come out with your favorite artist, by your favorite artist, and it will have not just one album, but it will have four different albums, right? It
Yeah.
will have four different colorways for each album, and there are 12 different members in the group. And in each album that you purchase, you will get a special card, a special photo card and you only get one. And there's 12 members, and you have a favorite. So if you want to get that one, you're gonna have to keep buying and buying and buying and buying albums until you get that one. And you may be like 8 or 9 albums in. Each of them are like $20 to $40, and you'll be maybe 100 or several $100s in buying basically useless junk to get a picture of your favorite, right?
Mm.
And that, in my opinion, it exacerbates it so much more. Where, of course, we did have it in America, right? And we did have it in other countries, but the problem is like there, it if they came out with an album, it was just one thing, and if they came out with some merch, it was just like one thing, right? It was just like a shirt or a few like different options you had. But with the K-pop, it was very exacerbated, and they have applications called like V Live and stuff where you can wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, where in Korea it'll be like a daytime over there or something, or nighttime, evening, and you can chat with your favorite idol. You can send them gifts and stuff, and you can pay extra for the concerts to meet them and give them a high five. I think they call it like high touch events. So like there's so much more attached, and obviously like it's a money making scheme, right? So the more albums you can sell, the more money you make, and the more stats you have, right? So it's a good thing in terms of business, right? But it's a horrible thing in terms of society, and I think it does breed a societal sickness or societal illness, because you are feeding into the consumer in all of these people, right? And the more they consume content revolving around this one singular person, the more they start to get hungry for them, and they start devouring it. The appetite
But let me
becomes
ask you this though.
ravenous.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah,
Is it the those companies' fault? Because we said the same thing about McDonald's, where they advertise their food, right? And they give people amazing deals. But at the end of the day, you're still the consumer. You have like you decide,
yeah,
right? It's up to your own prerogative. It's up to your own judgment if you're going to partake in it or not. So I feel like at some point there's a little bit of personal responsibility that needs to be involved in this. Because like yes, some of these companies they push certain celebrities with all kinds of merch and all that stuff, and the marketing would go crazy. But at the end of the day, it's like if you're tuning into it, then you're kind of setting yourself up as well.
yeah. Well, I mean, both can be true, right? So they are propagating this stuff, but at the end of the day, it all falls on you, and that's actually like one of the most important things. Where I think like people need to wake up to that fact that you're talking about, Teddy, where all these things are happening around you, but at the end of the day, the key word is you. You know, it's you. You are the one with the power in your hands. You need to stop idolizing these people. You need to stop kind of falling into the trap of consumerism, and you need to free yourself from this illness, from this societal sickness, which you definitely have the power to do that in your own hands. Stop trying to admire this person so much, and devour, basically almost devour them. Stop
I
trying to
mean,
become them
that's kind
and
of what
become your
happened. Yeah, go ahead.
you try to be and just go ahead, yeah, yeah. Basically become your true self.
No, that's exactly, and it's funny you said that because like I was telling you earlier, talking about how I thought Perfect Blue was such an amazing anime movie because that's exactly what happens in that movie. That one girl, like the main character's closest confidant or friend whatsoever, she becomes obsessed with her to where she wants to be her, right? And he creates this whole thing where she's looking at the original as the fake and the imposter and not herself as the real one. You know what, like how warped your mind needs to be to get to that place where you're so obsessed with the celebrity that you're in your mind you're becoming them and you're judging their decisions, whether you agree with them or not. And if you disagree with them, it's like, okay, you know what? Clearly, you're missing the point. You're not the real one. I'm the real one because I understand you better than you. So I'm you. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think one healthy thing you can start doing is stop looking to admire the traits of others, and start looking to admire the traits within yourself. And if you don't feel like you have any traits that you can admire within yourself, start cultivating traits that you can admire within yourself, because then you will find that you will be cultivating yourself into this more ideal being that you see this other person in. That's the other end of your parasocial relationship. You'll start to see that you can be that as well, you know? And it just keeps coming back to obsession. Like, people just need to steer away from obsession. When you start to see that you are going into debt, buying all these K-pop shirts and albums, and you're buying all these anime figures, and instead of spending time studying, you're spending hours and hours watching like One Piece streams, and hearing what the latest theory is on the One Piece. Like, get your life together. Why are you online focusing on these things that don't matter at all, or that you're giving such importance to, but really shouldn't matter, because they're detracting from your actual real life?
There's a
And
difference between a passion and an obsession. I think people need to understand that.
yeah, yeah, but what I want to get to, like, where the obsession starts. Like, I don't know what you think, Teddy, but I think that a lot of it has to do with childhood. A lot of it, not has to always do with childhood, but can do with childhood, right? So let me explain. So imagine this, Teddy, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you're a kid and all of your early relationships, they're dysfunctional, right? Perhaps because maybe like you had excessive or deficient attention from like your parents, right? So
Yeah.
when we have that, we're more likely to develop certain kinds of like so-called attachment styles. So the attachment styles basically they describe how we relate to other people. So one of them is attachment anxiety. This is where we become clingy, needy, or obsessed with other people. Another one is called attachment avoidance, where we avoid relationships, push people away, or are, deliberately like kind of self-destructive. So people whose attachment style is marked by like high levels of anxiety, social anxiety, or of avoidance, develop certain interpersonal patterns. For example, these people might avoid like meaningful conversations in real life. They might become like super jealous, excessively jealous, push partners away when they get too close, or seek constant validation through compliments and gifts, even on social media, right? But what a recent study shows is that attachment style also affects how we connect with fictional characters and stories. So I don't know what you think, Teddy, about that, about how our upbringing can affect this kind of way we interact and socialize, especially online.
Ah, man, that's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know, honestly, because the reason why I say that, I feel like I had a pretty healthy childhood growing up. Healthy in terms of there was a clear separation between fiction and reality. So yes, you had certain idols on TV growing up, even if it's in anime, like me, I've told you before. S- Oh, what happened?
Oh, my bad. I think I accidentally booted you out for a second. Say that again. It was just one sentence. My bad.
I forget what. Oh, I said like, growing up, I feel like there was a clear separation between fiction and reality, and of course, I had those TV shows and series that I was really into. Like, of course, everybody grew up with Dragon Ball Z, Yu Hakusho. I was really like the way I got into One Piece. It was just so genuine. I really loved um that story. I still do to this day. Like one of the reasons why I love Rice so much,
Yeah.
just quick tangent, is because I saw the scene when Sanji fed um, Jin from Don Creek's crew
Oh yeah.
when he was starving. Something about the passion with which Jin was eating that food and the smile on Sanji's face. I was like, yo, from that point on, um my perspective on rice changed, like because of that scene, right? So I
Yeah.
get it on the level where there's certain things you're gonna see on TV that are going to just stay with you and kind of define you as a person on the level. But at the same time, you gotta live in reality. And I think it's a luxury that certain people that live in first world country have, that people who live in third world countries don't have, which is that with living in a third world country, you are forced to face the reality on a daily basis. You don't have the luxury to wallow in a fictitious world.
Yeah.
But here
Yeah.
you do. In other places like here you do. So that's why I say I don't know, because my experiences was very different. I still had an obsession with trying to go Super Saiyan or shoot
Nice.
a Kamehameha blast, but I knew it wasn't real. I had fun with it, but I knew it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see video. I don't know if you've seen this. There was a really viral video that went around at some point of this kid. It's a black kid sitting alone in his room trying to go Super Saiyan, and he's
Oh
making
yeah.
faces and everything. It's like, are you serious right now? Or are you just trolling and doing this for content?
Yeah. Those were the golden days of YouTube. But
When you could just find like really like offhand
yeah, you remember all those
videos.
YouTubers like
Oh,
Smosh? what was the How to Be a Ninja? I forgot.
Oh, Niga Higa?
Was it them? Yeah, 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 yeah. Niga Higa. The I think
Yeah.
they're gone now though.
I think they're still around, but they're just not uploading as much, or they're focusing on different things now.
Okay. Yeah, so like that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up because like this study goes into like how humans are storytelling creatures, right? So like they say we have the ability to suspend our disbelief and engage with invented worlds on an emotionally powerful level. The researchers noted, right? Stories provide a rich stimulation of interpersonal interactions, portraying our social world in a manner that engages social cognitive processes while also presenting social content. So, because of our unique capacity to engage with these imaginary worlds, we sometimes experience fictional characters as if they are real. So, now we're kind of starting to get into a different territory where it's not just real people that are being kind of related with or like socialized with, right? It's also fictional.
Mm.
So, so through stories, people can gain intimate closeness with others with far less risk of rejection in a way that provides a welcome respite from stress that anxious and avoidant coping strategies inevitably produce, the researchers noted. So the study found that people who showed attachment avoidance in real life, people like those who avoid meaningful social bonds, right? Those people are the one that are more likely to engage and experience character identification and engage in parasocial interactions when watching television.
Yeah, this because it goes back to what you were saying earlier that human beings they're naturally social creatures, and
Yeah,
when like so people they're gonna find one way or another to satisfy that need, and if you're not finding it in real life with real people, you'll go to the fictional world.
yeah. And even like there was this guy, I don't know if you remember. I think his name was Mr. Kondo or something like that. Like he was a dude that he married Hatsune Miku. You know Hatsune Miku?
Yeah, 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 I
Blue-haired
know.
Vocaloid.
Yeah.
So
I
this
know.
guy, he
He married like a
married
doll of her, right? Or was it just
he married the cat. He married the IP. He married the intellectual property. So he married Hatsune Miku.
that's
He he
insane?
he married an actual like he married an actual anime character. So this guy he married Hatsune Miku, Vocaloid pop star, right? Computer synthesized pop singer,
Hmm.
who has toured with Lady Gaga by the way and started many video games. This guy is 4 years into his marriage with Miku, right?
Hmm.
And he actually opens up about his relationship with his anime wife. He says, "When we're together, she makes me smile." And in that sense, she's real. Basically, nobody can tell me that she's not real because when we're together, she makes me smile. And he actually reveals that he first found comfort in Miku in 2008 after bullying at his job sent him into a spiral of depression. So he decided long ago that he would never love a real person, partly because he didn't want the life that Japanese society demanded for him. And later on, the 38-year-old man began making songs with Miku and purchased a stuffed doll of the character online, which is, I think, that doll that you're referring to. Um, so he argued that his life with Miku has advantages over being with a human partner. She's always there for me. She will never betray me, and I will never have to see her get ill or die. So this is crazy, and like it almost makes me think of
What
like
I
the Bible.
hate about this is that
Yeah,
he's making valid points.
yeah, it's crazy,
I
right?
hate it. Yeah, yeah. Like it's like you're not hurting anyone and you're making really strong points as to why you feel the way you do. I will never be one to shame someone when they make valid points.
Yeah,
I don't personally agree with this because I just think it's weird. I think nothing compares to human warmth. And I feel like that's something that you should want in a partner, but he's being extremely painfully irrational. I can't even be mad at it. Hey,
Yeah.
have at it, sir. Have at it.
Now, Teddy, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this real quick because I want to go get some water. I'm a little sick, by the way, just in case anybody listening.
Wait, I asked you earlier if you're okay. You didn't say anything.
I told you yesterday, but anyways,
No, you did not.
I did. I'm pretty sure I did,
I'm
but
pretty sure you did not, bro. I would
yeah,
know. I would remember.
but anyways, Teddy and I we're gonna have a long talk about this after the podcast. Imagine. But anyways, look, let me tell you this, Teddy. So how this when I was hearing this story, right? I just started thinking, and I don't even know why I came to this conclusion, right? But it
Hmm.
brought to me a quote of the Bible, right? Where it says in the Psalms 118:8, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. So I thought this for modern society, many have modified this psalm to fit the internet and celebrity idols in the place of God above man, right? Now, of course,
Ooh.
I don't want to get religious because I'm not really religious, right? But I just thought of that, right? Because I grew up in a religious household, and that was just one of the first thoughts that came to mind. Now, I want to ask you this before I go get some water. Are parasocial relationships a form of escape, a drug to numb us from the reality of real world attachments?
You know, that's a very good question. And I think it does provide some kind of escapism, but I think it's deeper than that. I think for those people, they could still be very much involved in day-to-day life and the challenges and the woes that come with it, but identify with those celebrities, and it gets to a point where, like I told you, like the example with the animated movie Perfect Blue, where they're just not able to separate themselves from that celebrity, where they want to be either as close as possible to them or be them, right? And it's a lot easier when you talk about anime and you have people that just want to be certain characters, because you already get it sometimes with cosplay, where usually cosplay is just like a one-time thing, you go into an event or sort of a party or something. But some people, they really identify with certain characters to where in their minds they believe that or they try to aspire to be as close to them as possible. Like you have people, they look at characters like Guts, like Zoro, like I don't know, Goku. So you think of, really iconic characters in their own right. And some people aspire to be like them. And I think it can be healthy. It can come from a place of wanting to become the best version of yourself that you can be. And you see that through becoming something like a Zoro or a Guts or a Goku, or things of that nature. It becomes problematic when you're just trying to actually be the fictional character, right? And that's what it is, like it- you're completely disconnected from reality, and at that point you need to take a step back, because I
Yep.
think we have it in all of us. It would be very easy for many of us to fall into that pitfall, but it's important sometimes to realize when you're too involved in something and understand you need to take a step back. I
Yeah.
know it got to a point like that for me. Not quite as bad, but there was a Discord that I was part of for a while, and they used to talk a lot of One Piece topics and debates and conversations, and I really, really got involved in it. I got involved to a point where it would ruin my day because of something that happened in there. It became extremely unhealthy for me, and I
Mm.
realized I need to step back and just kind of recalibrate myself. Now if I want to, I'm able to go in there and they can do their thing and it doesn't phase me. But I had to go through that. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And for me, I think a good like I experienced a ton of parasocial relationships, right? I'm a fan of I'm a fan of some K-pop groups. I'm a fan of anime. I'm a fan of a bunch of like pop stars. I'm a fan of R&B artists, rap artists. I'm a fan of like sports stars, boxers, MMA fighters, right? But
Mhm.
the thing is, I never let any relationships that I have, be it parasocial or like online, I never let them interfere with or like take the place of like real life relationships. And I think that's something that like a general rule to follow, you know? Because
Mhm.
research has found that like parasocial relationships can contribute to anxiety, loneliness, social isolation. We've been talking about it. Especially if they involve social media.
You
So
know,
that's where, yeah.
I was just thinking
Uh,
about this now when you talk about that guy who married Hatsune Miku, or, I don't forget what her full name is, but um, I was just thinking about this. If there was a way for me to marry like Fubuki or Tatsumaki, listen, man. Or Rem, oh God, I don't know, man. I don't know. Or your Forger, listen, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
because he made a lot of good points. He sounded very convincing. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Oh man, you see people that don't listen to him. This is where you start to have to ask yourself, is this a societal sickness? Let me tell you something. Let me talk
Hey,
to the
hey,
people.
I will
Let
fully
me cook.
partake in
Let
the
me cook.
sickness.
Let
Okay?
me cook. These people, man, you gotta wake up. You spend all this time gazing at your like favorite anime character, your pop idol, whatever. But when's the last time you gave your family member, your brother, your sister a hug? You told them you love them. You
Hey, don't bring my family into this.
you spend all this money buying the K-pop photo cards, the anime figures, you buy all this crap, going to concerts, blowing your credit cards, maxing out all your credit cards, traveling and going to the latest Beyonce concert, which ain't doing nothing for you. But when your friend opens up a business, you're not there to support it with even a dime. You're not there to even buy a croissant. Some of you, you're listening right now, you're going into debt, bro. Come on. Like you're collecting figures, you're collecting photo cards. It's unhealthy. You got to like admit it and come to a realization. And I think that's when like parasocial relationships cross the line from respect and healthy admiration. Like, hey, I think and I acknowledge that this person seems awesome. And you start to veer into straight up obsession, and not only obsession, but idolatry. You're straight up idolizing this person like they're your god or something, like you're a religious monk, like at a temple, just like living your life to basically serve this person. It's sick.
Low
And
key, it is a religious experience for some of these people.
yeah, yeah, that's just ridiculous, man. And you know what? Um, I'm glad you brought up Perfect Blue earlier because the director is Satoshi Kon, one of the like GOAT directors, right, of anime, and they did an interview with him where they asked him, was Perfect Blue exploring the pressures faced by people with some degree of fame? And he responds, I think it is a problem that everybody has, male or female, famous or anonymous. I mean, there's a gap between the image people see of me and what I see myself as. And Perfect Blue is about the tragedy of caused by that gap becoming too large. And that is key because the gap between the persona and who the person really is, which you were talking about earlier, Teddy, that gap becomes too large with these parasocial relationships where the people see their favorite idol as like this perfect being when that's not who they are, and that gap gets wider and it becomes a canyon, a pit where so many problems can emerge from.
It can really destroy your psyche when you hold those famous personalities and celebrities on such a high pedestal, and then they do something that shatters that image of them for you, because it can really destroy your mind. That's why you can't let yourself get there. And I don't know, I guess it'll just have to be a conversation for a different day, because a lot of it, I think, just depends on your upbringing, but
Yeah.
also who you are as a person. And I feel like some people, they have a tendency to uh, easily idolize people and put them on a unrealistically, basically like a godly level, damn near. So
Yeah, like a godly level, right, Teddy? Like,
yeah.
and that's the thing, like these people, they idealize they basically make this idealized version of the person they're seeing on the screen, right? They're turning them into a god when they see them. But you gotta ask yourself, like, is this cute anime character or this cute K-pop idol or whatever, are they always cute off camera? Would the kind and gentle main character always be kind and gentle with no aggressive side ever coming out? Like, we always choose to see only the light and never the shadow. We choose to only see like this fairy tale version of this person. And this fabrication, when torn, it can tear us apart too. Now, very recently, Teddy, I don't know if you know about this happening, this kind of instance where Doja Cat has been being talked about recently, right?
Mm,
Where she's been going at her fans on Twitter.
mm.
She's goes on to say like, my fans don't name themselves ish. If you call yourself a kitten or an effing kittens, that means you need to get off your phone and get a job and help your parents with the house. And she goes on to say,
Valid point.
and she gets a backlash. So she keeps saying, look, it's my life, my rules, my style, my attitude. Um, and somebody else says, listen, I'm a big fan. I just want to hear you say, I do love you guys as you usually say to your fans. And she goes on to say, I don't, because I don't even know y'all. That is insane. But look at this, Teddy, and this is where it ends. The big fan says, and we don't know you. But we have supported you through thick and thin. Mind you, you'd be nothing without us. You'd be working at a grocery store making songs on an effing garage band, Miss High School Dropout. And then she goes on to respond, nobody forced you. I don't know why you're talking to me like you're my mother. You sound like a crazy person. So what do you think, Teddy? Do you think that, because I can see both sides, right? Where Doja
Mm.
Cat is saying, "Listen, you're crazy. Why are you talking to me like as if you know me personally? You're not my mom. Like, I don't owe you anything." But then at the same time, these people are saying, "But we've been with you through thick and thin. We're the people who paid your bills." You know what I'm saying? So at some level, at some capacity, don't you think we deserve some love? How do you see that, Teddy?
What wait. See, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The the dynamic between a celebrity and their fans is like a transaction. They bring you entertainment and like some kind of valuable entertainment to you. You bring them money, fame, whatever that, you know, whatever form of recognition you may want to choose. It's that simple. I don't understand where certain fans become entitled with uh with whoever they're idolizing. It's like, no, they're it's a job. They're doing this for your entertainment. And so you're just all you're doing by showing them all the love and affection is you're letting them know that you appreciate the work that they do. It's just that simple. I don't know at what point people's minds became so warped that they felt entitled to that celebrity's attention and love. And what she said something that's very important. And I think people need to understand on a broader scale, which is that I don't know y'all. What do you mean I love you? I don't know you. How can I confidently say I love you when I don't know you? But I think one of the
Yeah,
reasons why she's getting the backlash is because of how she used to be with her fans before. So
yeah,
there's something to be said about that too.
yeah. That's true. Maybe the whiplash of like getting cut
Yeah.
off. Like,
Mhm.
so Teddy, like, do you think that like, because seeing this, it almost looks like it is a societal sickness. Would you say like yes that it is a societal sickness, or no that like it can be healthy parasocial relationships?
No, it's not healthy. It's not healthy because like, when you look at the definition of a parasocial relationship, it comes from a place of one person being obsessed with the other while the other doesn't even acknowledge the former's presence.
Yeah,
It's not healthy. There's nothing about that dynamic is healthy. So, you need a even playing field. You can't just say, "Oh, um, yeah, I'm completely devoted and dedicated to you." Because another way to look at it too is you can be easily taken advantage of. when you're thinking, oh yes, like I love them, they must love me too and everything. So they won't love you back because they don't know you like that, but they'll be like, hey, since you love me so much, go and do this for me. Go rob a bank or go kill so and so or go do this. It's easy to manipulate people who find themselves in a parasocial relationship. So no, no, there's
Yeah,
nothing healthy about it.
yeah. I think yeah, I think I would agree that it is a societal sickness because this is the thing about sickness and illness that a lot of people may not be privy to, but health and disease, they're measurable. There's something that's kind of like objective, right? Health and disease are. But illness and sickness, it's subjective actually. So illness has like a sickness has like a social and cultural dimension, right? How people experience it is dependent on social, political, and cultural factors. This is not me. This is like a study from medical sociologists that were arguing that mental illness is socially constructed because illnesses such as anorexia and bulimia result from conditions created by society. And I don't know if I fully, completely agree, but these are experts talking on the matter, and of course, it ties into kind of what we're talking about, whether or not parasocial relationships are a societal sickness. Um, so, of course, take it with a grain of salt. But like, think of it like with eating disorders, right? They cause people to obsess about weight and what they eat. And even anorexia, it's characterized by a distorted body image and or with like basically an unwarranted fear of being overweight. So these are all things that kind of live in our head. They have this social and cultural dimension to them, and they wouldn't exist without the culture or society behind them. So I think in that same vein, parasocial relationships exist in that realm where I think they're very much a product of society as a whole, right? Where if you take it to like the like a tribe or something like we were talking about earlier, Teddy, and how you pointed out, like it may exist, but it wouldn't be a widespread societal sickness. It would maybe be like an individual thing, right? Like maybe you were obsessed with the chieftain, but you never spoke a word to him, but you just like secretly admire him, right?
Mm.
Like that kind of thing. So I do think that it is a societal sickness, but there is hope for parasocial relationships. I really want to hear what you had to think or say about this study. This comes from the director of Belle. It's an animated movie that came out recently. I think last year. It was pretty good. It's the director of Wolf Children and Summer Wars. Um, I don't know if you've seen those movies. Have you seen them?
No, don't ring a bell.
What? You never
Yeah.
seen Wolf Children?
No.
Oh man, you got to see that one. That one's pretty good. And Summer Wars 2 is pretty good, but Belle was just okay. But anyways, regardless, he says that I think a lot of the younger generations are not going to be able to detach themselves from a very internet centric culture. So, taking into consideration their future and how they must face these two worlds of reality and the internet, I wanted to make a film like this, right? And so he goes on to say, if you look at what social media is doing, it is very much its own separate world. So I believe that we now, without even realizing it, are living in two separate but equally relevant and real realities. Maybe a while ago, it was the real world versus the internet, or the real world versus fantasy. But right now, it's reality and another reality in addition to it. And we are looking at how much they can affect each other. So if you go all the way back to the history of film and look at Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times, just because it painted the Industrial Revolution and mass producing in a negative light doesn't mean we were not going to go through with this revolution, right? We still had the Industrial Revolution, even though early movies of the time depicted it as a bad thing. Similarly, you can't take the smartphones from these kids and expect them to go back to the farm and grow vegetables, right? So in that regard, Hosoda continues, we must acknowledge and learn how to approach this thing correctly and live with it, knowing that this next generation is going to have to live with this new reality. Why point such a negative picture of it? We can definitely focus on the more positive sides and enhance that and look to cultivate that and look at what it has to offer and help us push forward. What do you think about that more positive view on parasocial relationships and social media and everything, Teddy? You think it's just naive, wishful thinking?
Well, it's a difference between theoretical, um, like I guess a theoretical approach versus the practical reality. It's nice and good to say that yes, parasocial relationships have the potential to be something fruitful, something beneficial. But I ask you this: when's the last time you've seen that be the case in real life?
Yeah,
Like, uh, yeah, if you ask me personally, I think it's a bit of wishful thinking because, yeah, in theory, it seems like, yeah, that could work, but it hasn't. So I don't know.
damn.
Maybe it can, if you expose people to that type of thinking, like, hey, look at this. This is one way that you can turn this unhealthy habit or unhealthy practice into something that benefits you one way. Maybe that could work. I don't know that. See, because what people don't realize, there's something very visceral about being in that kind of relationship because you're not seeing reason and you don't want to listen to reason most of the time because your mind is already wired a certain way. Because it takes a certain amount of craziness to get to that point where you're that obsessed. So you think those people, they're not rational. They're not thinking rationally most of the time. So like, I don't know. I don't know if it's something uh that can be turned into a positive, but
Yeah,
maybe I like to be proven wrong, but I don't think so.
yeah, that's true. I get. I don't know. It's tough because I do see how it can be like a maybe not a good thing, but it can be like a healthy thing, right? Like something that you can healthily engage in. Obviously, we do it right now, right? We're not exactly like obsessive with anything, but we have an entertainment, social interaction with the things that we like, right? Um, and it's completely healthy. It's not even anywhere close to obsession. So I I would maybe like to just right now tentatively agree that parasocial relationships might not be inherently bad, and like it's just like having a strong role model, right? It's an important part. It can be an important part actually of discovering who you are, and it can help you navigate the sometimes confusing world of like growing up and romantic love and everything. But when your parasocial relationships turn into an obsession, that's where things get bad. And I think that's where it's important to be aware of the impact of that obsession, and kind of try to find the balance between your interest in celebrities and the amount of investment you have into them, right?
Mm.
So for me, I would say like to steer clear of obsession when engaging in these parasocial relationships. Number one, you have to acknowledge the person that you admire or follow is not flawless. They're not better than anybody else, right? Um, Number two, you have to limit the time and effort you put into the parasocial relationship. So, in other words, a good benchmark is don't waste more money on a Beyonce concert ticket than you would on your house or your child's tuition. Don't spend more time online gushing over a celebrity than you do seeing family and friends and meeting new people and cultivating new hobbies. And number three is, of course, spending less time online. So societies nowadays, they're like chronically online. They're finding comfort and community online. And of course, this can be a good thing, like finding communities online, but this can never replace the comfort and community that you can find in the physical world, in the real world, right, Teddy? So
Pretty
that's kind of
much.
my kind of guidelines. Would you agree with that, or would you have anything to add to that, or any kind of advice on anybody that they do still want to engage in these parasocial relationships? They are still online admiring all these people, but they don't want to become obsessive with it.
Yeah, I mean, you've nailed the nail around the head, man. Um, yes, that like if there's one way to look at it in a positive light, that would be everything you just suggested. Just make rational decisions. Like you said, don't buy Beyonce concert tickets when the rent is due, or when you have more real life pressing matters to get to. Don't sacrifice relationship with people for a fictional relationship with somebody who doesn't even know that you exist, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's true. Nice. Yeah, I think we reached a good kind of conclusion to this. I think that we went really deep. We had a lot of examples. We touched on a lot. It was kind of a lot condensed into like about just over a bit over an hour, Teddy. Do you feel like we covered everything we needed to cover with this topic?
Yeah, I think so. I think we went over everything. Uh
Nice, dude.
yeah, yeah. I don't because that's the thing. Like I wasn't even sure at first because my knee-jerk reaction when I think about parasocial relationships is there's nothing good that can come from it. And I still think that I just
Yeah,
think that there's a way to monitor it. I just think in itself, it's there's nothing good about it in
yeah.
itself.
Like
Like
it
there's nothing
shouldn't
good
be
to
a
it.
part of humanity, right?
Yeah. Like
Oh, I think Teddy cut out. Well, he probably got a phone call or something. But yeah, this was us on the pursuit of anime. Raven and Teddy talking about the implications of parasocial relationships and answering the question of are parasocial relationships a societal sickness? And of course, it was a little wonky. I was a little sick, so definitely bear with us.
yeah, we
But
definitely gonna need to talk about that upstream because you didn't tell me nothing.
hey, man, I could have sworn. Listen, anyways, we'll talk about it off stream. Anyways,
Uh,
um, yeah, man, it was a good one. It was a really great one. I liked it. It was a little change of pace for the podcast, and next week we have a great one coming up. I don't even know which one actually, but we have a
we
lot
just
of.
know it's gonna be great. Like
We just know it's
that's what
gonna
it
be
means.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty
We
much.
have a lot lined up for you guys. More anime related stuff. Maybe even a Gear 5 themed one coming if we get an extra day to record one of these days. It's some really good stuff. But any last words for the people, Teddy?
Man, just steer clear of parasocial relationships, man,
At any cost.
at any cost.
At any cost, man. Yeah. With that, you guys, we will leave you. Make sure that while we're gone, between the I think it's about a week. A week from now, we're gonna do the podcast. Make sure within that time, you don't end up marrying any anime characters, any anime waifus.
Unless it's Fubuki or Tatsumaki, then you're clear.
What that? Those are your. What about Yorichi?
Nah, I mean, yeah, Yorichi, I feel like she'll be problematic to deal with. Her
Here we go.
personality is no, I mean, she fired, don't get me wrong, but it's like it'll be like I hit you up every once in a while, say we can get freaky freaky, but outside of that, like I can't beat with like yeah, no.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Listen, we might get into like a waifu stream one of these days. Do our own little parasocial relationship thing. But anyways, you guys, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for all the subscriptions, likes, comments, and everything. And we will be back at you with the next one with another great topic, another insightful discussion. Until then, peace.
Peace.